So today, like I mentioned, we shall be looking at cybersecurity to the extent that we can cover today. However, I have something prepared for this session, which is about what is said can be about pursuing careers in cybersecurity. So I hope I'll be able to do justice to these highlighted items under the content. And before we do that, like Kazim mentioned, I'm sorry, that's how I used to call him, Investor of Ilorin, so I'm still used to that name. So just to flash a bit of our certifications that I've gotten along the line working in the cybersecurity world, because the journey started back home in Nigeria, working for Union Bank in the electronic business department. So I was in charge managing physical ATMs, deployment, and connectivity, making sure they are securely connected to the bank application, the core bank application that we used then, which was FlexCube and then other things within the bank. So there we do things like making sure the communication from the machine to the banking application is secured, and then whoever wants to hack the machine, we can easily get them. So enough about myself. We can talk about that more if the time permits. So if there's any question, please, you can drop them in the chat box. And I don't know how Kazim wants to manage this, but just let me know if you want to stop me for anything. Also, as working with BAE, also on the side, because I shared one video from Professor Pantami about skill gaps or vacancies within cybersecurity, what he mentioned. So that was when I started Prefort Consult in early 2019. And the story for that, I think I'll leave for another day, or rather say, I'll save the best for the last. But for Prefort Consult, what do? We do consultancy, train people, and mentor people that wants to come into the industry to the best of our knowledge. And for those that are not familiar with cybersecurity is based on this tripod, and we call it CIA and not the Central Intelligence Agency of America. It is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Cybersecurity, to just define it in a simple way, is the practice of defending computers, servers, mobile devices, electronic systems, networks, and data from malicious attacks. It's also known as information technology security or electronic information security. What do I mean by that? You would see information security be able to differentiate between cybersecurity and information security. There are two different things. When you hear cyber, it encompasses a lot of things, even your smartwatches that we use these days. If you have watched Homeland, there was a time a man was attacked. He has a pacer, which they were able to hack, and then that's how he was killed. So that's to tell you how far we have gone in terms of knowing devices and be able to attack them and use them as a weapon against our enemies. So cybersecurity encompasses everything. And then if you want to know how the Iranian nuclear reactor was attacked, the information is in the public domain, but they are not specific on how they were able to drop USBs everywhere. And this was plugged into the reactor and they make it to do overdrive. And that was how it was destroyed. So cybersecurity is very wide. You might be wondering why nuclear reactor, because they are never connected to the network. We call them operational technologies, OTs. So that's why they have to find a way of which people can compromise the network. And I'll touch that later as we go. So in a nutshell, cybersecurity is the application of technologies, processes, and controls to protect systems, networks, devices, and data from cyber attacks, simply put. And then you will not appreciate this until you hear from one of the service providers, which is Mark Nunikovin, Vice President, Cloud Research, Trend Micro. He said cybersecurity has become critical to the fabric of any modern business because as breach after breach hits the headlines, it is clear to everyone that organizations need more professionals focused on cybersecurity. And this is where the issue about the skill gaps comes into force. There are lots of adoption of technologies all over the world, particularly in Africa as well, where people don't put a lot of focus. And I'll touch that as I talk about this further down the line. So there are lots of skill gaps. We're adopting technologies, and it became very pronounced during COVID-19 pandemic because many organizations never thought of working from home. And then it became new normal, as we call them over here. So that opened plethora of weaknesses that organizations have to the hands of the attackers. And I like the fact that when I joined this session, I saw you playing Jack Crusaders, one of these sessions that he has. That's one of the guys that I so much love the way he presents cybersecurity in a simple form so that people can understand what goes on out there. All right, so let's look at some of the ways in which cybersecurity is becoming popular. You must have heard about ransomware. Think of ransom. There are hostages. People were kidnapped. You ask for ransom. So the same thing is being done on cybersecurity side too. People hijack your system and ask you to pay some amount of money before they can release your data to you. And there is no morality when they want to pick their victims. Recently, my son's school was attacked, and they weren't able to use electronic devices they used in teaching them. They have to go back to the original way of disseminating education, which is using the board, using marker on the whiteboard. That's what I meant here. So again, malware, malicious software, that's what it means. People will make you click an email with an attachment and you will download an app onto your system without you knowing, realizing at all. Again, data leakage, people do this deliberately sometimes. You stick in your USB, your hard drive, copy your organization's data, believing it's safe. What if you lose that device? We've seen something here in the UK whereby Ministry of Defense employee lost his bag and containing important information about Ministry of Defense at the bus stop. And things like this happen. Recently, Northern Ireland, one of the police men lost his laptop that he kept in his car, and that gave access to a lot of record about the police. So these are the things that we're seeing, data leakages, right? Insider attacks. Some people, at a point, they don't like the organization which they work for anymore. And what would they do? They will be source of attack into their organization. And some, they do it indeliberately. What do I mean? Imagine you opening your account with your, LinkedIn account, Facebook account with your company's email address and using the same password. And this account, there was a time I remember Facebook was hacked and they were not storing users' password in encryption. They were saved in clear text. And the hackers had field day with people's, username and password. And there was a time too, I was informed that I need to check if my detail has been hacked because I use ClearScore, which you use for checking our credit score here. So they were hacked one time and they told us to change our password. So there are two sets of people, those that already know they've been hacked, and those of us that are claiming they have not been hacked, but they have been hacked. We are just two. There is no in between. So no in between us. Again, activism. Some people, they hack for, like what is happening, people protesting now. When the Ukraine-Russia war started, if you are in our industry, there were a lot of attacks going on online between the two countries trying to find loopholes on how to attack each other and break down the system, break down the communication and all that. And then on ransomware, which I'll touch more later, again, you heard about Colonial Pipeline, you heard about NotPetya, WannaCry, and the likes. Maersk was attacked. And imagine an organization that is in charge of up to 80 ports, which they're managing in the world. So it's affected them a lot. And before they could come back to life, it was a long process. And the way they were able to do that was that they have to come to Ghana because, in Africa, particularly, I use Nigeria, Ghana as an example, there's no steady power supply. During that period, there was no power supply, so the server was down when the attacker took over the system. And that was how that server escaped that attack. And for them to be able to mirror that server, they have to send somebody to carry the server to the UK here. So the person has to travel. Imagine they don't want to even send it through FedEx or whatever names. So they have to bring it down to the UK for it to be mirrored and use that as a copy around the world. That's how they were able to save the day. Phishing, many of us, if you started using Yahoo like myself, Yahoo Mail, you see you get a lot of barrages of phishing email. You did not solicit for them, and then you start getting information about what you didn't sign for with attachments and all that. Once you do that, you've opened the floodgates to many things to happen to you in your organization and whatnot. So that is just to whet your appetite about what I'm talking about today. And then the next thing is, let's look at cost of data breaches. Human error. Due to human error, 95% of the costs are resulting from human error. Revenue losses. Revenue that will be lost as a result of data breach is about 29% of the organization. And 80% of our personally identifiable information are compromised when an organization is attacked. And no organization is immune against what we are talking about. Even ourselves, Prefort Consult, as small as we are, our website was hijacked and somebody just dropped a malware there. If you click on it, and then it is distributing that malware, and we're able to find out and rinse the website and take away whatever the guy was able to drop somewhere there. So these are the ways we do things within cybersecurity. We always continuously look at our system, making sure that there are no loopholes. And that is why we talk about vulnerability management and the likes, which I'm going to touch later on. So this infographics by Pooja, it tells us a lot about what can happen when an attack takes place. Imagine during the COVID-19 pandemic, see what happened. On the right-hand side, about 25,000 email accounts compromised. And this compromised email of WHO, Gates Foundation, and many more, 25,000 accounts. And you can imagine what they will look like. 500,000 plus Zoom logins. They're on dark web. And password, 93% of them were able to pilfer from those organizations. So many things happen as a result of COVID-19 because everybody is now moving online. They want to use the facilities to work from home. And why is that the case? Some organizations don't have VPN. They allow you to use your personal devices. You go on internet, you download, you want free software, and by so doing, you bring in so many things into your organization and you open the floodgates to attacks, because there are many ways in which an organization can become attacked. All right, like I promised before, so May 7, 2021, Colonial Pipeline was attacked and they were asked to pay in Bitcoin. 63.7 Bitcoins was seized by FBI, and which was valued at that time at 2.3 million US dollars. British Airways in 2019, they paid 183 million pounds because of what? Hackers were able to get into their system and copied customers' information, including credit card. Marriott Hotels, this one is very funny. They acquired another organization, and because of that acquisition that they did, they inherited this problem, and they paid 99 million pounds to the UK government. Facebook, in October 2018, they were lucky. It's just because they were not directly affected. They only paid 500,000 to the UK government. But Equifax, they're the ones that their story still lingers in our mind. Imagine how much they paid to US FTC, 561 million pounds equivalent. That is what they paid to the US government. And it continues. If you want to learn more about that, there are spaces for that. But this night, I want to give time for us to have conversation. So if you look at cybersecurity skill gaps, even though, look at Israel, they have 5,000, and these 1,000, you need to, that we're looking at on that scale there, you need to add 3 zeros to it, that's 5 million. So continuously, anything that you see there, add 3 zeros more, and then you see the capacity that they needed for that to say they want people to work within their country. They're not talking about any other things that happened afterwards. And that was in Q3 of 2016. So that's to give you an idea when this thing was going up like that. And if you continue around many other words, you see what we are seeing within cybersecurity skill gaps. And what does it mean? Look at that. Each country, they have the workforce working there. Those are the talents. Could be millions, right? But despite that, you still have some skill gaps across the world that we still need. Globally, we need more than 4 million people to work in cybersecurity. And these are experts we are talking about, not people that are coming into entry level or people that are coming into mid-level. Experts, people that are really good. These are the people that we're looking for, more than 4 million people. So you can see Africa, that information is not being shown because nobody's focusing there, because the business is not actually there. That's why people don't run after that area. But one thing that is happening is that we are seeing is that talents are being taken from Africa to other parts of the world to help them do their jobs. So if you have this at the back of your mind, which means there are a lot of gaps within Africa because their good guys are being taken away and they leave the gaps behind for Africa. And that is why this information is not readily available there. So in 2018, there were only 7,000 certified security professionals in the continent, which is Africa. So which means one for every 177,000 people, which other way around is about one to every 350 people in America. So this is in Africa as a whole. And then African Union Commission and UNDP, they survey, and they have surveyed, they found that African countries, they have an average of 0.21 out of 1 capacity, competence in cybersecurity. And more than 70% of African nations need additional cybersecurity infrastructure. And some of them too, you can see 40% having specific CERT or cybersecurity policy framework, which means there are lots of gaps. And the sources are there for you to check later. Then again, Accenture, I think I'm missing R there. They said South Africa had the 3rd highest number of cybercrime victims worldwide. And if you calculate that, that's 2.2 billion rands. And look at what it translates to in Naira, 94.6 billion. In November 2021, Kaspersky said Nigeria, South Africa, and Kenya, they have what? 81 million cyber assaults in only 3 months. That was in November. They gave that report, which is coming inclusive of phishing schemes, which increased by 438% and 174% in Kenya and Nigeria, respectively. So in 2022, Interpol, they said that Africa as a continent, GDP reduced by up to 10%, which is about 4.12 billion in 2021, which is lost to cybercrime alone. One thing we've noticed that less is reported about cyber crimes going on in Africa because they do it hush-hush. they will just hurriedly go back and fix the problem. And every one of us here know what we call Yahoo Yahoo and all that. So many frauds are called Yahoo Yahoo, and that is why you don't know which ones are related to big crime that's been committed. So 9 in every 10 African businesses are said to operate without necessary cybersecurity protocols in place. Protocols, these are the main technical controls that you need to secure your organization. So 9 in every 10. When I was in Union Bank, we used to go for an event, and there were these guys that started opening our eyes to cyber activities going on ATMs. We went for their training, and these guys, they went to Otigba, they bought blank cards, and the machine, you just swipe the mask right through them then and make several copies of the card. And these people, they will go around Lagos State or the likes, or travel outside the state and start withdrawing this money. So you think they are in Lagos, by the time you check the transaction, we see them withdrawing the money maybe in Port Harcourt. So these are the things we're seeing that time. So these days, what I'm trying to say on that is, those guys, later on, I later learned they left for Canada. So these are the ways in which we are losing good people leaving the continent to other developed countries. Then let's see sectors advertising jobs: finance, consultancy, aerospace, what have you. They are advertising for cybersecurity. And on the left-hand side, these are the typical roles that you see them advertising. And some of them are purely technical, some are in between, and some are non-technical at all. And these are roles that people will hear, and people will tell you, no, before you can get this job, you need to be certified. You have to have CISSP. You have to have da 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 da. I do this training because I know that is the wrong way to come into the sector. Showcase the knowledge that you have about cybersecurity. We are not looking for geniuses. We are looking for smart and intelligent people, or enthusiasts that will come into the industry and be able to do what you ask them to do. It's fine to break stuffs, break them, we'll fix them, and that's how we roll. And that's why we have test environments. You don't have to be afraid. We need people that are confident to do things. And that is why cybersecurity cannot fill the number of gaps that we have. The horizon is always increasing. And then to back up what I'm saying about the certification, look at salary of somebody that is with certification and the one that does not have one. In North America, in Latin America, in Europe, and APAC, see the salaries. That is to tell you they are not too far from each other. And that's to tell you can also get into the industry. And once you get into the industry and you securely get yourself certified, you earn more than what the person that came in with that stuff that you're talking about earlier, because you can showcase experience and then move away. And that is what is happening. It's the same thing that is happening within the banking sector all over the world. So, all right, main issues driving cybersecurity. And I've told you earlier on, we talked about the drivers. So variety of attacks happening, 43% of them. Quantifying security issues, they are unquantifiable. Privacy concerns, we had GDPR that came, and regulatory compliance, you need to comply to several rules and regulations. And number of hackers increasing, 49% of the security issues that we're having related to that. Because you can have just somebody, a boy that is of secondary school age, just hacking you from the parents' maybe bedroom or his own room as well, depending on the convenience. And they do this easily because there are many tools that you can get out there at a cheap cost, very, very cheap. And then you start running them. Okay, to even tell us more, we have APTs, Advanced Persistent Threats. These ones are coming from state-sponsored hackers. We see them from North Korea, China, Russia, even Ukraine, and some other countries. It's funny today that Ukraine and Russia, they are fighting. There is a war between them. But do you know that some of these attackers do come from Ukraine and Russia at times, because so you have so many tools. Denial of service happens many times, and that's derivative of that is ransomware attack too. So these are the things that is making cybersecurity to continue to be of high demand from various organizations. And again, security misconfiguration. I use mobile phone as an example for people. How many times have you taken your time when you are configuring your phone to understand how have I configured this? Is it the right way? We don't. You just click, 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 and continue and finish it. Even your TV, you don't check what are the best way for me to do that. So that's the reason why we always have a lot of attacks here and there. So cybersecurity career pathway, how do we get into cybersecurity? You could do that through entry level rather, mid-level or advanced level. So typical jobs that you'll be looking for, somebody that comes in, a young lad coming, we can employ you as an investigator, as an analyst, incident analyst, because I have somebody now who left Nigeria last year with his wife to come and register for schooling here. He came in, was working with Titan Bank and formerly GTB. So he did my training whilst he was in Nigeria last year in preparation to come. Today he's now hired with by HMRC. That's the taxman for the UK. So there are jobs, and that's how we help them. And in his own case, he got the job as incident analyst. That is SOC center. They monitor what is happening on the network and report that to those higher up. So in the mid-level, cybersecurity analyst, cybersecurity consultant, penetration testers, vulnerability analysts, and all that. We have them. And then you start talking about the advanced level cybersecurity architect, engineers, manager. At this manager level, I have a lad who came into the UK for Masters International Relations, and somebody sent him to me. He said he's interested because he saw my flyer. He did my training, and today he's a cybersecurity manager. So these are the transition that we see after people come for this kind of advice. And then let's look at this mind map. At the middle, you see the cybersecurity domains, different domains. You have career development. You can start doing that to say you want to self-develop yourself to get into the industry. But that's the long route the long route you want to take, pardon me. So the long route that you want to take is that one, because you will sit there, you'll be waiting until I pass it before I get there. But what we've been able to do, we've captured these domains that we have for the cybersecurity domains for our own training, which I'm going to show you later. It covers security operations, where you every day be like the policeman looking at the CCTV, monitoring what is happening. You have threat intelligence, those working in the SOC center, security operations center as well, but they are connected because they need to get intelligence from the public and share it with them to see if there's anything that looks like what they've seen, and then identify that in the vulnerability. So they work hand in hand. You have risk management as well, which is part of risk assessment. You do code scanning, you do vulnerability scan and all that. Identity access management, we do that as well to make sure that access control within organization. If Tom is hired as a manager, he cannot do the work of a director. He cannot have the right of a director. So that's what we call role-based access control. And then with that in mind, we have other frameworks, which anybody, you don't have to be a technical person before you start using these governance-related documents. One of which you can talk about the frameworks, the COBIT, ISO, SANS, NIST, and what have you. There are lots of them that are there. And I can see at the top there, security architecture. And this is where, for somebody like myself, I go into organization, I develop security NFRs, ask them to populate information for me, to confirm for me that how they have secured the organization against attack on data at rest, attack on data in transit, data in use, and all that. I'll give them that, and they start telling me what they have done. And then we'll run our tool against what they have developed and show them whatever vulnerability that were found. Again, tell them what kind of cryptography that they should use to encrypt the information. You can use message authentication code. And this is not a time for all that, but just to give you an idea. For those that are non-technical, compliance, IT auditing, risk assessment, they're there for you. For those that are in between us, you can say, okay, I want to do risk assessment. I want to do, you say you want to manage the process as a lead for that organization. And that's a transition up to the higher level. And then these are typical salaries. I'm sorry, I may not have Nigerian salary here, but typical salary that we see people that come into the industry, you see averagely you can get 6,667 pounds in a month, and tax deduction there gives you an idea, and you see what you can take home like that. Recently, one of my students that did my training, starting late May, finished early July. This is her salary from nothingness. She has done BA business analysis training, and she couldn't find job, and a lawyer for that matter. And she came to me, and this is where she is today now. So because there are jobs, you can transition from any field. You don't see yourself as, well, I can't do it. And what will give you an idea is if you're an accountant, you're a banker, you're an inspector, you feel like you've hit the ceiling and you don't know where to go, you can become a cybersecurity auditor. You're a teacher, you can be cybersecurity manager. You work in the healthcare sector, we can hire you in various fields. Analyst, data analyst, business analyst, or what have you can become a cybersecurity analyst like this lady that was just hired. Engineer, cybersecurity engineer, you can become. And then maybe you have been doing security before, you man post and all that, you can become information security officer or manager perhaps. And what do I tell people? I tell people, if you know your destination, your journey is short, or if you know how to get there, your journey is shorter. However, if you have someone taking you there, your journey is the shortest. And what do I mean by this? If you know people that wants to do cybersecurity, so many places are talking about skill gaps. Tell them, advise them on what to do. Cybersecurity is a skill that will last for a very long time and is assimilating many fields now. Project management, data analysis, BA, machine learning, artificial intelligence, they're all falling under cybersecurity because we need to know what our data is and what kind of protection we need to put on top of them. And then in attacks, as we do threat intelligence, we see what is happening and you can monitor the evolution of attacks and be able to plug it wherever it exists. So skill gaps tend to be, but relatively speaking, it is prevalent in a range of areas like incident management, investigation or digital forensics, through to cybersecurity governance and management. So there are roles within this area because we need to make sure we protect our organization against attacks. So what do we do in Prefort Consult? Our modules, they're like as stated there on the left-hand side. We do introduction to information security and risk management, networking concept and vulnerability management, and we'll take you through information security standard as ISO 27001. You can also lead you into getting certification to become information security lead implementer, which is ISO 27001. I have people that have gone through this route, and that's what they're doing today, like that. Cloud computing as well, we'll take you through that, as well as security analysis, and making sure that you understand the business analysis concept, which is what we call the business impact assessment and disaster recovery. And as well as we do take you through CV writing, interviews, and opportunities in cybersecurity. And like I said, maybe somebody's an accountant, engineer, your business analyst, and all that. Definitely, you can segue and move into titles that you see below. And if you come to the training, these are the typical certifications that you could take later. And apart from this one, there are free certifications that we will signpost you towards. And from there, you'll be able to prepare yourself for something bigger later on when you get to the job environment. But one thing I want you to take home today is you don't need to be certified before you start applying for jobs in cybersecurity. However, you need to have the right knowledge. So what do I mean? If you take this training, because I have people that have taken masters here in the UK and they come to this training, they're like, wow, why is it different? And this is where I'll tell you what brought me to the UK. As a PTDF scholar, I came here to study drilling and well engineering. I worked a little bit for some of the organizations which are in the offshore of North Sea, UK here. So my company was a consultancy company, Innovative Engineering Systems Limited, who used to give them support, render services to sand producing assets. But as you know, nature, there was downturn within the oil and gas industry, and even Aberdeen, that was very busy, became so quiet, like a graveyard, because people were losing jobs. And my company too, they could not sustain it. I have to find my way and go back to other knowledge that I have, which I know is thriving, and it will stay there for a long time without any impact or whatsoever, because you can easily move around. So the experience I got from that university, Robert Gordon University, was that people come from the industry, they teach us what they do there. And it made us prepared for the industry rather than you doing things that are just theoretical. So that is the way our training is developed. And whoever comes, they see there's a difference between theoretical teaching and application-based knowledge transfer. And that's what we do here. So at the end of the day, you could go into this role. On the left-hand side are the topics, everything that we cover. And on the right-hand side, examples of what you can become. You can become cybersecurity auditor and many more. In terms of time, I don't want to continue mentioning them. And typically from experience, some people will come, they come with knowing nothing. So I want to leave you with Dunning-Kruger effect curve. You know, you come into an environment, you say, I know nothing. And you start acquiring knowledge because you've heard about cybersecurity. I want to do it. Your confidence is growing, is getting high, getting high. Then it gets to the mount of stupidity. You say, oh God, I don't think this is for me. Then your confidence comes down. And then you go to the valley of despair. So when you get there, you start doubting yourself. And that is where we come in and then continue to encourage you. We have platform where we talk about motivation, give you an example of how to do your CV and make sure everything is okay. And gradually you go to the slope of enlightenment, and gradually you secure a job. Then you get to the plateau of sustainability where your confidence is high enough to sustain yourself. And before you know it, you become a guru. There are people today, their salary, they were earning 20K, 20 something K. And by virtue of what we've been able to do for them, they are earning above £50,000 within now, and they're able to secure property for themselves. Some are living in council flats, some were living in rented apartments, some were sharing with people. But today, we thank God, Alhamdulillah, they're able to find something for themselves and they are happy because cybersecurity skill gaps are there. We just need people to do what it takes. Experience gathering. It might not be doing the thing practically, it might just be by way of learning, watching, and then owning. At the end of the day, you become an expert in this topic that we're talking about. Then what do you need? You need to be courageous, ambitious, and resilient to be able to say you want to secure a job within cybersecurity. Because you may go to an interview, you may not like it, and you say, oh, that is not for me. Every time I go, this is what happens to me. That's not the case. You don't have to give up. You have to keep at it. It's the same thing with every trade. If you think it is easy, definitely not. You have to pay your dues, do the right sacrifices, and then you'll be happy at the end. And I think that is where I want to stop the presentation so that I can allow for questions. And I'll leave you with this. Confidence is what you have before understanding the details. So, alhamdulillah, I think we're able to do justice to the time. And I'll stop sharing now so that we can ask questions from people that do have one. Thank you for listening. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa barakatuh. Okay, so that was as concise and as detailed as possible. Okay, so we leave the floor open for questions. If you have questions, you can raise up your hand. And if you feel so shy and you cannot ask, you can type it in the chat room. We have one question in the room, by the way. I also have my question, but let's start with the other attendees. Okay, so Tunji asked, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. If they still succeed at attacking your sons, how do we assess the success or failure of cybersecurity professionals?
It wasn't my son. My son's school was what I said. All right. There is no perfect solution in life. Okay, I'll take, for instance, are you saying we can totally eradicate crime? You cannot. And for those that are familiar with risk management, when we are managing risk, we mitigate risk. You cannot eradicate it. It's just like coming into this world. It's about challenges. And example is you get an onion. As you unwrap one, you meet another one, and that's how you continue to open it leaf by leaf. And therefore, there is no how you will say cybersecurity will give you the Midas touch and the problem will just disappear. All you do is to continue to raise the bar. And that way, you are doing what you're reducing the effect or the approach in which people are getting opportunity to attack your organization. And that's what we do. So in cybersecurity, you cannot say you totally eradicate problem. But on KPI, you can have KPIs for vulnerability management. How many weaknesses did we see? And how many of them can we mitigate within the shortest time possible? And that's why we have policy to say, if you have high severity vulnerability, you must fix that within 1 month, for example. Some that are medium, maybe within 60 days. Those that are low, that are just of minor concern, we said 90 days. So it differs from organization to organization. Perhaps the way you manage risk within the banking sector is different from the way you manage within engineering sector. There are two different environments. So that is the way you can manage and say these are the ways the cybersecurity professionals have performed. And that's the way we do it. I hope I've answered your question, Olatunji. Somebody, can I go ahead, Kazim, or you want to take care of the question?
You can go ahead. However, before the next question in the chat room was just posted, but we have the same person raising up his hands. So in order of those that raised up their hand, there is Abdulaziz, there is Inyoda, aka Otailo, and then he has brought down his hand. So let's read the question in the chat room.
Okay. The questioner asked, what is the rate at which cybersecurity can get jobs in Nigeria? The rate I don't have, but there are lots of attacks going under the hood that people don't know. Those of us abroad, we hear a lot of stories about what is happening. And some of those jobs, we have Jobs Village, that I know the person that owns that one. He sends us opportunities, and the ones that I know that I need to share on UMAA, I share them. And there are other websites that you can go to as well to look or secure these jobs that you're looking for. So there are lots of jobs within Nigeria, particularly, these microfinance banks. A lot of things are happening to them. They are happening under the hood, and nobody is taking care of what is happening there. And it's stringent for you to start rendering services because of the culture and the approach within Nigeria. And that is why it's difficult for many people to be able to understand the amount of attacks going on there. So there are jobs, but they're happening under the hoods. So I don't know how to solve that problem, but there are really jobs out there.
Okay, so the next question, Abdulaziz, you have the floor.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Really appreciate this lecture.
Alhamdulillah.
I'm a new entrant entirely, and I'm interested with the way your explanation really shows with minimum knowledge or zero knowledge about it, one can gain a lot.
Hello, Abdulaziz. It's your
Now,
question. The audibility is poor. We
okay,
can't.
sorry about that.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
going
Can
up
you
and
hear
down.
me loud now?
Yes,
Better.
it's better.
Now, I want to know, like, is there any training from the tutor that we are going to put out for the brothers? I mean, for us to learn, and when will that training be, and how much is going to be? Because we are really interested in it.
Okay, that's a good
Yeah,
question.
thank you.
I'm going to share my flyer later on the platform. We have 4 diets coming up for next year. The first one is starting 27th of January. We just finished one today. So we do at least 4 in a year. And for those that are coming from Nigeria angle, we have another price because of affordability. But in the UK, prior to this time, I charge £1,000 for that training. And however, now the price is going up because we are getting more hands to help us, and we need more. I need to increase the quality of the training as well. So the price is going up to at least £1,500. And this is for 6 weekends. And for Nigeria environment, this year, those who would have joined my training, what they paid at a discounted rate as a student that was in, which school was that again? You paid me 250,000 as a student. So because we just want to help people as much as possible to get to the industry, because fingers are not equal. I cannot use the yardstick I use for the UK for the Nigerian people, because I know, like I said, the capital wherewithal is not comparable. So if you need more information on this, we can talk more about that after which I've shared my flyer for the forthcoming trainings.
Okay, Mr. Smart, go ahead.
All right.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam wa barakatuh.
Please, I want to crave your indulgence and seek for some time. Sometime in 2013, my office was directed to investigate a case. It had to do with unusual withdrawals from a particular bank ATM machine. So when the case was given to my team, eventually we were able to arrest the guy. So what he was doing was that he was withdrawing money from a particular ATM machine every day. He was withdrawing, I think, up to 200,000 naira every day. And that was 2013. And the guy in charge of the ATM said in the evening, he always discovered that there was a shortfall, which will not be linked to any account. So when the case was given to me, eventually we were able to arrest the guy. Then it was discovered that at the same time, people were withdrawing in 4 locations across the country. So we were investigating. But eventually, the case was transferred. I was directed to transfer the case. So my question is this. I want to know, because I was unable to crack the case before I was directed to transfer it. I want to know, is it possible for that guy to have gained access into the bank system without an insider? That was what I was unable to find out before. So, I mean, by this lecture now, what you said in the course of the lecture brought the memory back to me that banks are always under attack. People were withdrawing money from. So I want to know, is it possible? Will it have been possible for that guy to have gained access into the system to withdraw money without an insider? Thank you.
Thank you very much. You know, the question you asked brought back a lot of experience whilst working in the bank, working with Union Bank then, and managing ATMs. The first thing that you have noted is that you were able to see the guy through the physical security withdrawing that money, and that is the camera that you have. But I want to tell you another thing. Maybe Kazim can relate with this because I know you've managed POS before and they are similar. You see, machines, they have cassettes. We call them cassettes. They are boxes, basically. Each of the cassettes, if my memory serves me right now, there are 4 cases. At the top, while I was in Union Bank, we'll put for 1,000 notes. Second, we'll put 500 Naira notes. Third, 500 notes. And fourth, 200 Naira notes, right? So under logic, we've put in the machine that if, let me just pick a random name here. If Latifa comes to the machine and says, machine, give me 10,000 Naira. Because of the logic, we have said we don't want to lose a lot of those smaller notes because we use them to balance some of these transactions. Because somebody might come and ask for 500 Naira and the machine will give it to him or her. So do you now know some of these guys, what they do? They connive with the custodian inside. They will put 1,000 Naira notes in 500 Naira cassettes. And they will remove the 1,000 Naira on, so the money will be dispensed as 500 Naira notes. I don't know if I'm making sense. Let's say the machine is supposed to give you 10 pieces of 1,000 as 10,000. Then you ask for 10,000 because it doesn't see the number 1 cassette. It sees number 2 and number 3 and number 4. It will make best effort to give the money out from 3 and 2 and perhaps 4 sometimes, depending on the cash level. And that is where this kind of mystery money usually comes from. There are lots of fraud perpetrated then. But myself, I was safe because I don't get near the money. I just make sure the devices are working for them. And that is why some of the time you might not be able to finish this case. In the bank, in the branch, they will not balance. The money is going out, they'll not be looking, okay, where is the money? And why do they not balance? Then they need to have a ledger which they will put the amount of money they collected. So during that period you mentioned, people don't put the amount of money they collected in ledger. It's just what the ATM dispensed. They try to balance against the branch account. And that is where this normally happens. I've had a colleague, we're working together in the same unit, dispense errors coming to the organization. Machine didn't give me money. You know what the guy does? When he processed the money, he will put his name, his own account there. And when the dispense error is being processed, the money goes into his account. But eventually the bank found him. He was suspended and his employment was terminated. But the guy is late now today. So my brother, I'll tell you, that is what normally happens. If you are finding it difficult to solve this kind of cases, I've given you an insight. Again, for the sake of time, I'm sorry. There was a woman that came to us, Union Bank, then. People would not know what we do in Union Bank. We're one of the most attacked bank then on ATMs, and we're on top of it. There was a woman, his son, while she was sleeping, took his mom's card, left their house in Shomolu, and went to where? Went to, you know, the branch, that Yaba branch that you see on the road. He went there, collected money, left back home, kept the card back. And the woman came to the branch and was yabbing them. Surulere branch, oh, you collected my money without my consent, you know. We just said, don't worry, give us the details. We found the face and we showed the face to the woman, and the woman started begging us that that's my son. So there is no way there will not be an insider in what you have just mentioned to leave it there.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, I think those are all the hands that we have raised, but we have another question in the chat room. The first question is from Gabby. I want to ask about the roadmap to cybersecurity and how can someone mix software engineering, I guess, and cybersecurity together?
Software engineering and cybersecurity. Basically, if you say software engineering, you're a developer, okay? You develop applications, right? So if you are saying cybersecurity, what I tell people is if you are a developer, what we can make you become is a cybersecurity engineer because you know the tool of trade, how they do their things, how they do develop and all that. So then we'll train you to look out for their errors, their mistakes. And we have tools that you can use for that. So we have the SAST and the DAS tools, you know, static application security testing tools, and DAS, dynamic application security testing tools. There are so many of them. We have the one, I'm forgetting their names now. Well, for the DAS one, you have SonarQube, SonarCloud, and the likes. I remember the static one. So you start learning those tools. And that is why before we used to have DevOps. Now they've opened a space for security. It's now called DevSecOps, so that you don't miss security in terms of that. So, and if you say roadmap, well, like I said earlier on, get yourself trained, get the basic information you need to have on your CV, relating to that roadmap you're drawn for yourself, and start applying. So many organizations in Nigeria, they don't want to pay money. If you know the tools, they're ready to hire you. And you train yourself and find your way to the top. That's how you can do. And that's why our training is called Accelerated Cybersecurity, so that you have all the areas that you need to know. Because my experience, why this was developed this way is that, again, whilst working in the oil and gas, we got into a meeting and there was this guy that was hired from America. You can tell he doesn't know what we're talking about. He was just busy with his BlackBerry then, and we're in a meeting. You don't want to be in a meeting and they're talking, you don't understand anything they're saying. And that is why this kind of training is developed. So if you're interested, we can help in that regard. Any other question, cousin?
Yes. We don't know the name of the person. The person has a guest name called COVID era. Amazing name.
That's shocking.
Please, which type of system will someone need for the training?
Basic laptop. You just need to have a laptop. We are not doing coding. We are not breaking stuff. You just need to have a laptop to join the training. That's all you need. Chicken.
Okay, next question. Can we undertake the training alone, like self-developing oneself? That's another question from Gabby.
Can we undertake the training alone, like developing oneself?
Like self-taught, I guess. You don't have to go.
Okay.
Maybe YouTube, learning yourself online. I think that's what it means.
Oh, he meant self-study, I guess, right? Okay. If it's self-study, fine. But the problem you have with that is, okay, I'll give an example. You can say, okay, somebody is selling this course cheaper for me. Do you have the person to mentor you when it comes to seeking job? A guy came to me like that. He asked me about the cost of the training, and then we agreed. He went and left. He met one Indian guys, and they flashed so many things to him. Some people don't listen at time. And he believed them over me. So you just put him on direct debit. He's going to be paying them for 1 year. And he's paying ×3 of what I said he should pay earlier on. So he hit a roadblock. You can imagine training you are going for 1 year. A time will come, you lose interest. So he hit a roadblock and he now came back to me. And I said to him, well, go back to them and cancel that. But for me, I cannot train you for free. So if you want something that you want to do self-study like that, then you have to find somebody that will have your time, that will be able to help you along that journey. I kid you not. We've been through this. If you want to go through that self-study and all that, this is not the time and age or like that. Because Prefort Consult now from next year, right now we're on LearnDesk. So we're going to have recorded session. People can look our recorded session and paid for that, or they want a live session. But there are two different things about them. Recorded session, you cannot ask any question. You just listen to me talking about the content and giving you examples and giving you materials, right? Then for the live session, it's different because you can ask me questions and we'll treat those questions, and you're on our platform again. And that platform, you can throw questions at us and they will answer you. So that's the different thing. So if you want to go through self-taught route, it's possible. It's longer. That's what I know. I kid you not. I'm not going to mince any word because it's an organic growth that we're looking for. I don't lie to people. I tell them as it is.
Okay, the last question in the chat room is from Baba Mugba. Why is it very difficult to prevent fraud or cyber attack? In most cases, here we only act after the fraud or attack has been committed.
We only act after the fraud or attack has been committed. Who is acting here? Is it the government or the victim?
I guess is referring to the entity that was attacked. So it is after you've been attacked, that's when you now try to put preventive measures in place.
Thank you.
Corrective measures, recovery as well.
Thank you very much. You used the right lingo, so that's why I'm thanking you. Preventive, if you had used them in the first instance, preventive includes monitoring. You know, like they say, if you pay peanuts, you will hire monkeys. If you don't beef up your security, don't put the right people, you don't train them enough, they will not be able to give you what is required. And they'll be looking outside, looking for another job. So if you train them correctly, they will use the right tool because you bought the right tool. Qualys now for vulnerability management. It will tell you what are your vulnerabilities. And then you can go to other websites that we go to and confirm whether those vulnerabilities that they are exploitable. And then they will suggest what you need to put in place. Imagine myself coming to Kazim. Now, Kazim, these are the vulnerabilities we are saying, and we want you to release fund for us to do X, Y, Z. But it might not be Kazim's priority. He said, no, I think we'll do that next year. But I'm telling you, I've told you, those vulnerabilities that are being exploited in the wild. And that is why you see those fraud happening, the attacks taking place. And then you now be doing what? Fire brigade approach, running here and there. The money that you think you don't want to pay earlier on, you pay triple of it. Why? Even more than triple. Your reputation is at stake because it will be on the headlines. People will talk about your organization. They will not trust you anymore. Number two, your employees too, they'll be leaving because they feel like you don't take the business serious. Number three, there will be what? Lack of morale generally from everybody, even from the top downwards. And that is why cybersecurity, what we clamor for these days is it must be a responsibility that is tied to the top level. Somebody is responsible for it. And that is why in America, if an organization messes up, the CEO can go to jail, and we call it due diligence and due care. That is not happening in Nigeria yet, but we'll get there because they've started privacy, which I'm aware of. So if every organization takes cybersecurity serious, we are not going to eliminate them, but we can reduce them to the barest minimum. That's what we do. And that's why we say we are in this business for life. It's not something we are doing for fun. We do it as a means of livelihood. I hope that makes sense.
Okay, I have a question here. I have two questions noted, but let me ask the first one, then we'll go asking the other audiences.
Okay.
Okay, so and the question is, oftentimes, let me see who is unmuted, human being. Who else is unmuted? Somebody is also unmuted. Let me just mute everybody. Okay, so Saheed, you'll have to unmute yourself to respond because I tend to see that a lot of people are unmuted. Okay, so yes. The question is this. Often, you know, this DDoS attacks, denial of service. Whenever it happens, you see some websites building, maybe I don't know, maybe it's a middleware interface or connect the routes they are whenever computers systems want to access their website, they route it through Cloudflare. And what comes to my mind is that, okay, how does Cloudflare manage to know that, okay, this is a regular a real human being trying to access the website, because you see the message, a pop-up message saying we want to validate that this is actually a real person trying to access and not any one of those attacks. How does Cloudflare one know? And then secondly, how does Cloudflare now know itself? If, for instance, they send a denial of service to Cloudflare, how does Cloudflare now manage it? If Cloudflare is able to manage it, how come websites are unable to manage it?
Good question. I like that. I just forgotten what they call it in Netflix anymore now. Whether Netflix something monkey, I'll look for it. The Netflix that you know today, they didn't get to where they are today, that you can access them globally. When they started, they practicalized attacks on themselves. So what do I mean by that is, they have various areas they connected to. So they'll attack the one in America, attack the one like that. As they're attacking them, they've routed the system in such a way that if this is down, change your approach. I want to put it in a simple way. So once one is down, they have mirrored that IP address. There are several devices bearing the same IP addresses. So you think you are directing to one server. So when one server is down, you are routed to another. Routing is the word I'm trying to, you are directed, but basically. So Cloudflare, what they've done is they've created this front end, several of them. And because in the cloud, you say Cloudflare, in the cloud environment, the level of automations that we do, so that if one server is down, the system can sense it, that this server is down. We call it keep alive. It cannot hear from that one. It springs up another EC2 instance if it's AWS. And there's exact copy of where you have told it, which we use CloudFormation, that's the word. CloudFormation, it will spring up another server.
Load balancing?
Load balancing.
You mean load balancing?
It's load balancing, but it is more than load balancing, because load balancing is that this website is receiving more than required, right? Shared the load, which is part of availability, right? But you're talking about distributed denial of service, DDoS, that's what you mentioned, because it's distributed. And that is why Cloudflare can ask whether you're a human being. The way we do it is they'll use captcha, where you click and say, yes, I'm a human being. Sometimes they tell you to move around an object position because they want to know whether it's actually human being doing that, because there are several bots. I'm doing this because you said DDoS. They are different from DOS. So DDoS, you have several bots. One could be in Ukraine, one could be in Africa. So they are sending their attacks. But when they get to that website, Cloudflare will ask that request. Can you confirm you're a human being? And if you're able to answer that question, yes, it will allow you. But bots can never answer. It's just sending the messages. And what it will do, if you can't answer, just drop the packet. And that is what is happening there. And that's how Netflix were able to be where they are today. More than load balancing alone, if that makes sense.
That's fine. Okay. Sunny, Shams, go ahead. Shamsu.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Walaikum salam. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir, for the beautiful lecture and the interaction. My own question is about AI and cybersecurity. What has been the impact of artificial intelligence on cybersecurity?
Wow, that's a good question.
Yes, sir.
Very good question, and is well anticipated. You see, AI, we've been using it for a long time, just that it's become something given to the public, and everybody is seeing it as something fanciful. If you look at when we started with Alexa, you talk to Alexa, what are you doing? You're talking to an AI. You're telling Alexa, play Surah to Fatiha for me, and it's doing that. What is that? That's artificial intelligence. And what they've just been able to do is to add another level to it, because it can actually do fantastic job about pulling resources together, doing more than what Google can do. So the impact for cybersecurity is this. Anything that is good that you think you're doing, you're drinking water, the bad guys are drinking water too. You're using mobile phone for good, they're using it for evil. So everything that you see that has good element, the good side of it, human being will use it on the other way too as well. So AI that you're looking at, people have gone to ask AI, how do I bring a website down? It's a dummy. It will just send you the code that you can find on the internet. And the same thing happens with if you want it to say, how do I secure a website? So it's whatever you put into it that will come out. And because before now, AI was just allowed to do anything it likes, the bots. But today now, the next level is to guide what it does. And that is why you see you have the free level of that service and the one that you pay for. So if you want a better service, you go for the paid for ones, and it will give you that level of security that is required because it's a guided, generated information. And for those of us that are really lazy with configuring our systems, AI will just give them tools that they needed to bring the system down. But those that have gone to the higher level, it will not be able to do justice to that. There was some presentation I attended, Bright Talk. I'm just trying to remember what the guy said about that, because there are a lot of work ongoing about this AI thing that you've mentioned. And in cybersecurity, we know is a force that we have to reckon with, and everybody is doing their best about that. I hope that makes sense. I don't know if it helps. I want to quickly share my screen while we are looking for the next person I want to ask a question.
Okay, I actually still have a question, but okay, let me ask my question since it seems there's no other hand that is up. So I noticed while you were presenting, you gave numbers, and you actually talked about it that there is no numbers for Africa because it's not a serious, it's not something. Just hold on, please. It's not something that seems to be taken so keenly within the African environment. And I'm now thinking that why would it be a case of there's no valuable or tangible assets that is worth attacking in Africa, and that's why there is less attacks within African space? And the reason why I say that is if we look at the last election, something of value was on the table. And what was that thing of value? The next president of Nigeria.
Correct.
INEC was attacked 12 million times within the space of, I think they said 1 week or 1 month. I can't even remember the time Patami mentioned it. So would we allege that the reason why Africa is not seeing that much attack from those Eastern European countries or Southeast Asia is because they look at it that this continent is poor? Or even if you attack them and it's like you are hacking the account of a poor man, you won't find any money there. Would we allege that's the reason why? And if we now say, okay, if that's the reason why, does it mean that okay, entities, as much as the economy of Nigeria is getting better, we will see more of those kind of attacks grow within the African space? For what I know, banks are usually attacked. I can say that banks are attacked at every point in time. You see all sorts of nasty phishing mails coming to your system, people trying to socially engineer information from you. We see that every now and then. So I just want you to address that.
Yeah, you said it succinctly. Honestly, it's not as if there are nothing of interest within the African environment. Like I mentioned to you, 81 million that was reported by Kaspersky some years ago, but precisely 2021 November, 81 million attacks. And those, you see what it led to, about 94 billion. So it's not as if they're not happening in Nigeria, but they're not being reported. The journalists are not interested. They don't know about cybersecurity. I'm sorry to say that. So it's not the kind of news that they believe their audiences are interested in. If not, insiders would have been giving them information about all these attacks. And because the journalists are not interested, it is difficult for people to get such an information. One of the topmost banks, I'm being told, like 2 years ago, of the attacks they experienced. It was huge, Nigeria, but it never made the headline. And the same thing goes for while I was in the oil and gas industry too. You will see blowout in offshore. If you hear one in the UK, everybody all over the world has heard it. But in Nigeria, there were blowouts that we just hear from people working in the industry telling us there's oil spillage in the creek, da, 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 da. But over here, the journalists, they've made their own research. They know what they want, and they can bring organizations down. So because in Nigeria, there's no that element of interest. That's why they don't get reported. Like I said, a lot of attacks are going on under the hood. People are just covering them. They don't want people to know because they don't want their bank to be, to be labeled as what have you. And that is why they are not being talked about at all. I don't know if that really helped. And that's what I see all the time. And again, Kazim, let me mention this. Do you know that the Indians are taking up cybersecurity jobs in Nigeria? You guys don't know. The Indians, what they do, I've worked with Tata Consultancy before, one of the biggest consultancy organization. What they will do is they will sign a contract with you in your own organization and then do what? Take it abroad. We call it offshoring. That's what they decided doing that in Nigeria. We have a guy in the UK here. He has been into compliance related to PCI DSS early as 2000, right? And he's based in the UK here. He does majority of the bank's PCI DSS as a QSA. He told me in confidence, the Indians are coming to the market because Nigerians are not seeing this as an opportunity. We are interested in different things. And those guys that you're looking at taking our jobs, they are secret agents for their country. And that's what people don't know. And they get information for their country, pass it on back, send jobs that are meant for Nigeria, send it back home. That is what we call offshoring. And that is why you may not know that those attacks are taking place. Foreigners are the ones monitoring our networks. Foreigners are the ones telling us what to do on our networks. And Patami tried. I came to know this because he went to Robert Gordon University too. I came across one of his staff that was working with him then, what he was doing as an insider, what I was told. That is where we got to where we are today, that he can give that information at that level. And that is why his video that I sent out recently that I shared again is talking about that awareness that we need to have about cybersecurity. Attacks are going on, but people are burying them under the hood.
Okay, I would want to attribute that to very malicious good information management by our journalists. They are more interested in Zainab and Alaji conversation.
Exactly.
And they are more interested in that than things that will cover geopolitical espionage, outsourcing of jobs to foreign nationals, loss of effects by giving these jobs. So they are not interested in that. They are more interested in covering all those just stop Instablog kinds of news.
Gossip,
Gossip news. That's what they just like.
Yeah.
So that's quite unfortunate. Hopefully, the new digital Bosun, the builder, will be able to. He is trying to create something with 3 million jobs. His plan is to create 3 million tech-related jobs within the country, so that we will have sufficient people managing technology-related conversations in Nigeria, and we will even be able to export them just as India is exporting them into the African subcontinent. Okay, so we still have about 20 minutes more. So if time permits, we can take comments or questions from Baba Mugba and Sunji once again.
Yeah, Kasim, the screen I shared, you can see AI when it started, 1950. That's why I shared on the screen. People are worried about AI these days. We started using it since 1950. The Turing test.
Exactly.
So you can see how it has started. And it's not something that we are worried about in cybersecurity because we know any new invention will come with its own challenge as well. And that is why cybersecurity is going nowhere. It's here to stay. If you like it or not, it keeps expanding, keeps assimilating many jobs. And that is why it's so big. And I like the fact that they are talking about 3 million. 3 million workforces cannot do the job that we need in Nigeria. You can imagine. I tried registering for that 3 million for Prefort Consult to do so, but you need to have registered company in Nigeria, an address and all that, which I haven't done. So that's what is delaying me. So if there's anybody that has a training arm in Nigeria that feels we can do it together, I'm open to that so that we can, because they said you can do the training anywhere. You don't have to be in Nigeria, but you have to be registered with the CAC. Unfortunately, the company that I had registered then was for engineering, but I don't even know what is the status. Sorry, Baba Mogba, and who else who wants to ask a question?
And Sunji, we have, so Baba Mogba also typed the question in the chat room. Maybe it's the same one. Why is it very difficult? Okay, I've read that one out. Okay. Ibrahim, go ahead and ask your question. We'll come back to Adibowale after.
Yep, salam alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Well, in your response to my question about companies not hiring competent hands, not willing to pay, there are bigger companies here in Nigeria that are so big that whatever amount any cybersecurity expert is asking, they are ready and never willing to pay. And I can tell you they are paying. Still, we are having attacks. Telecoms are one of the biggest in Nigeria, if not the entire Africa. And I can tell you one thing, in fact, most times in the office, we just laugh over certain things when attack happens and people are just trying as much as possible to see what they can recover. It's like somebody has stolen so much from you and all you're after is just, let me see what I can recover. At least I know I can't get it all back, but let me see what I can recover. And we always go back to the round table and like, why is it that it is so difficult to prevent these attacks? We are always reactive. It will have happened. Then you now start seeing people running scatter. So to me, I don't want to believe it's a case of not hiring competent hands or not being able to afford these people. That's one. Then two, regarding there are attacks, but I think our information management in this part of the world is one of the best you can ever think of. It's not that our journalists are lazy or they are mere interested in allergy and larger stuff that way. I just think the people that are being affected are managing this information such that they don't want to create panic out there. Because the moment somebody comes and says UBA is attacked tonight, honestly, by tomorrow morning, everybody will have withdrawn practically all their money in the bank. So the way we react to bad news in this part of the world is, I think, part of the reason why we try as much as possible to manage our informations so it doesn't look as if things are really happening. A lot are happening on a daily basis in terms of attacks here and there. So that is just my own knowledge of the little things I've seen as regards the industry. And regarding outsourcing our jobs to the Indians, I think in the search of our quest for cheaper labor, the Indians have kind of made themselves available. And I don't think this is peculiar to Nigeria alone. Almost all over the world now, it's always it's either the Indians or the Chinese. They are ready and willing to take any amount for any job. So that's what I think in that regards.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to go back to what you mentioned. You said you've witnessed attacks, your company being attacked, and then you go to the round table, you discuss this. Is a reactionary approach to everything that is happening. That is to tell you the right approach is not in place. Okay, if you say, I have friends who worked in the telecom sector, they are now in Canada. Let's tell ourselves the truth. Very experienced network engineers. They've left. You start building some people ground up again. They've left with a lot of knowledge. So if you're saying the attacks you are getting, there's no company that is not being attacked. Monitoring is what will help you to prevent the attack having wider reach or effect on the organization. If you are monitoring it, you catch that as it's happening, you quarantine it, then you analyze what has happened, and then you identify any other host that has been affected. That is what we do in incident management. Tools like CrowdStrike that are there. How many companies, apart from telecoms, can afford those tools? Carbon Black is another tool. I can continue reeling out names. Instead of buying them, some organizations will say they don't have the budget because it's not of interest to the person releasing budget. You can speak about your own organization and how many times has your own organization's attack made the news? It's never made it. Because even the people around there, they don't see that something that is of interest to the common man in the public. I want to attack UBA. What has that to the alert on the street? The person doesn't care, you know. But let me tell you one thing for a fact. These attacks that we're talking about, they are happening every day. US military, sometimes they will be attacked. UK military, do you know how many attacks the US is facing every day? Millions. I can say billions too. That's what they are facing. And coming from where? Eastern Europe, Southeast Asia, not from North Korea. Coming like that. Some of them will be successful. And if the journalists got wind of it, they will spread it out immediately. We have soldiers or journalists waiting for that kind of news to fall on their lap. How many of those do we have in Nigeria? But one thing, you see this new law that Buhari, is it Buhari or Tinubu, that made it, that forced on privacy now. That is when you now see that some of this news will go into the market because they'll be paying people, the whistleblowers, to blow out this, and the government will make money from those. There is no money for government. That is why the thing is not making the news. In the UK here, GDPR, we have the ICO. If they caught the wind that the organization is attacked, go and check GDPR. It's 2 for 10, 4 for 20, 2%, or 10 million euros. That's what you pay. 4% or 20 million euros, depending on your revenue. Go and check GDPR website for the European Union. Every day you see the attacks. You see the fines going up from various companies. They are paying to the government, and nobody heard about them. They have to pay because they have mismanaged people's information. But we're not there yet in Nigeria. And many countries are waiting for Nigeria. Once Nigeria gets it right, you see they will follow. 3 countries people are looking at in Africa is South Africa, Kenya, and Nigeria when it relates to cyber attacks, because that's where the money is. The rest, they have no interest. It's just little amount. So attacks are going on. I have friends that worked in Dangote. He's left Dangote as a DGM. Their best hands are leaving because they are not being appreciated. My brother, attacks are happening. It's just that we are not interested. The journalists are not interested. You see, well, what is trending? That's what you see on Rise New. What is trending? Gossip. That's not the kind of news. Go and check BBC. They will tell you company that was attacked and the amount of data that was pilfered or the amount of data that was encrypted that they needed key to release data to them. I want to rest it there. We have wa alaikum salam.
Yeah, please, I'm really sorry. I just want to make a comment. I hope KB will allow me to do that. First off, I want to thank you, sir, for your time today. The purpose of setting up this KBS this evening for this group is, of course, to look at how to pursue, I don't know,
pursue, yeah.
Thank you. A career in cybersecurity, and I think if I can speak for everyone, I think you've done a very good job of at least providing, a roadmap to that. What I would just like to say is that, we decided to bring this up. The committee decided to bring this up because we think it's very pertinent that we continue to provide values for ourselves. For this particular group, we are, of course, a lot of us are in our mid-careers. Probably some of us are even in their senior career. Some of us are looking at our retirement. And a lot of us would feel like, why should we be having this conversation? I had a sit down with a friend of mine here. She's in cybersecurity, and we were just talking about the evolution of AI, and we're all, we're all scared. Like, jobs are going to be lost. People are not going to. Some of the jobs that we are doing today would not exist in the future anymore. Now, the truth is that before now, in the domain of warfare, we used to have land, sea, and air.
Correct.
Only recently, we've added space and information to it. And when we're talking about information, we're basically talking about cyber information. So if we're looking at the future for ourselves, for our kids, for our, awards, the era of you have to go and study, engineering, without knowing what's out there is gone. And I hope that today, every one of us today would have been able to see the importance of this cyber information generally. We might be talking about cybersecurity in terms of, people getting their accounts hacked and people losing monetary value. If you ask Ukraine in 2007, when they were attacked by NotPetya, the whole country literally shut down. Like, doctors, nurses, people were like in big problem. Hospitals were down. You couldn't access the information, and it was like you didn't drop a nuclear bomb, but the whole place was down. This is the threat that we are facing with cybersecurity, and we don't know it yet, and it could happen anytime. The point there for us is that we, our kids, our cousins, our aunt, our brothers, they need to get into something that is future-proof. They need to get into a career that would ensure that they're still relevant within the next few years. We don't know where things are going, but I think from the little we know right now, we better be prepared. And it doesn't look like cybersecurity is going to go anywhere. So I would encourage all of us to, I know a lot of us, people are looking up to us. We are mentoring people. We are telling them, what they should. They're looking at us as people that have achieved in our career, but we also need to understand. One of the brothers asked that, can we go self-taught? The reason why I'm a little bit scared of self-taught is that IT is just evolving at a breakneck speed. It is evolving so fast that if you think that you will go through a tutorial or anything within the next, 1 week, before you know it, that has been deprecated. A new feature has been, announced. It's in GA. So I would say that if we're really serious about, ensuring our viability into the next few years, we need to take things serious. We need to take our career serious. Today, a lot of us have a job because, this is the way the landscape is. India is everywhere. It's a global village. People can work from different countries. So before you know it, maybe we would not even have cybersecurity vacancy in Nigeria anymore. Why? Because, Indians have taken over. So why would we? And what that simply would mean is that people would not have, jobs. It's as simple as that when you don't have the skill set that is required. So I would encourage us today to, within the last 2 hours, we've sat here, we've listened to the professional talk about this. Let's not see this as just a lecture that goes on. It is actually about, our safety as well. Like the facilitator said, we have people from other nations, people that might not have the best of our interests. We know what India is doing to Muslims today, and then they are the one in charge of our cybersecurity. So what game are we playing? So I would say that as much as we will blame the press for not focusing on the right thing, the government too. I know in Western world, GDP, especially in Europe, is a killer. If you mess up with people's data, if you get hacked and you don't inform within the next few hours, your company might actually be going bankrupt because it's so much security, it's so much important. So I would say that we should all take this extremely serious. Of course, we are, like I said, at the risk of sounding like a broken record, we are nearing the end of our career. We are mid-career, but for our kids, let's prepare a future for them that, they would be able to, that is future-proof, that will keep them relevant. And I'm pretty serious. I'm pretty sure that cybersecurity is not one of the things that you need to worry about. AI is not going to be EA to take care of your cybersecurity, because this is, we're talking about human factors here. They will tell you cybersecurity that one of the weakest link of cybersecurity is the human factor. So that means AI would not be able to, do a lot. So I'm not the lecturer. I should probably just shut up right now. But then I would just implore us that let's take this thing serious. As much as it's okay for us to talk about Zainab and Alaji, we should also talk about our futures and that of our kids and see where we can, be much more relevant. Jazakumullah again for your time. I know it's a very valuable, session you've given us today, and I hope that going forward we will be able to take practical actions from today's session. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much, my brother. One point I wanted to buttress that you mentioned, somebody, I think it was Brahim that we were talking earlier. You see, population, what's the population of Nigeria now? Do we know the exact figure? More than 200 million, right? So are we saying we don't have enough hands to do those jobs? Then another thing I want to ask is, Nospetia that you mentioned, WannaCry, in the UK, we are affected. NHS that will go to everything about system, they'll enter your record. If I go into any hospital in the UK, even if it's private, they'll put in my name, they will see on my health record. So which system would an attacker attack when it comes to a health record in Nigeria? Where's the centralized database that they want to attack? Are they connected? So that's number one. So where do you think they will now go to? They will go to the banks because they know there is interlink between yourselves. I can go to the machine, collect money from one machine to another. That's an example of the interlink. So there are attacks going on unless we are deceiving ourselves. And there are many business opportunities. If you think you can't work, I can't apply for Shensi now, you can be a link into some businesses, set up business that we can work together, be it rendering services to organizations, helping them to identify problems in their organization. You don't have to go through those processes. Like my brother mentioned, we are in the middle stage of our career. These are the stages whereby you think about future-proof opportunities that you can create for yourself. And we don't just say, I'm leaving what I'm doing. You can do it on the side. So nobody's asking anybody to go and resign where you are. You can do it on the side, perhaps if you love what you've heard. And for me, I work for BAE. I still do this on the side because salary will never be enough to take care of my needs. And alhamdulillah.
Speaking to that effect, the next question that Adibowale Adejobi asked speaks to it. He says, after the training, can one get a job overseas from Nigeria? A rider being, how easy is it?
Good question. That was fantastic. I was thinking about this. I've attended a session whereby I saw a developer working for a company in Australia from Nigeria. He's working with them. So it's possible. Like they say popularly, where there is a will, there will always be a way. Apply. Some of them, they just want you to showcase that you have a passport. How do they show me your face during the interview? Flash your passport. That's what they need. But if you have not applied, you don't know whether it exists or not. What if you are in Nigeria and you work for an organization in Ghana? I had people working for an organization in Ghana from Nigeria before, but that was in oil and gas. I just came from the UK, attend to the team there, flew back. We did all these things. So it is possible. I have somebody that is here doing some job for a company in Nigeria. All these things are happening. So impossibility does not exist in cybersecurity. Anything can happen, but you have to put your CV there, apply for the job, attend the interview before you can say it's not possible. It is possible. The world is a global village. That's cybersecurity for you.
Okay. The last hand raised here, no question in the chat room any longer, is our Oga in NIMSI, Abdulaziz Hassan.
Oga in what?
NIMC. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yeah, I used to work with NIMC, the National Identity Management Commission.
Okay.
I'm sure you know them, yeah.
Yeah.
the national ID, but I left anyway. So
Jackpa.
Jackpa, yes. I do have a question though. So my question is I don't know if you've talked about it though, but what are the prerequisites, the prerequisite knowledge that anyone willing to take up cybersecurity should have? So the reason why I ask is because I see a lot of people come up and just like approach you and say, oh, I want to go into cybersecurity. Is this something I can do? Is it viable? This and that. And for me, I personally try to discourage people who have zero knowledge about IT. You know, you see fresh graduates, yeah, you might have studied engineering or sciences, and then you want to go into cybersecurity because you checked the job market and you can see people earning 80,000, 90,000 pounds as a cybersecurity analyst or something like that. So because Kozim asked about DDoS a little while ago, which is something that has to do with networking, and I'm sure having enough knowledge of networking would definitely help to protect whatever network threats you get, and also developers and so on. So for me, I personally tell people that start a career in IT. It could be IT support, it could be something else, you know, just get the requisite knowledge of IT before you then jump into cybersecurity. I personally used to see, I might be wrong, see cybersecurity as like, okay, I've gotten to the peak of my career as a developer, as an infrastructure guy, as a network engineer. Then, okay, bring all this knowledge together and then go into the security domain. And then that would probably help you to like be able to know what to look for when the threats come. I don't know what your take is about this. Can you please shed more light?
I think my own experience differs from yours. It differs totally. Kazim knows me. I studied geology from University of Ilorin. I had masters in drilling and well engineering. I didn't do anything related to IT. But working in the banking sector made me develop interest in this area of IT. I started with Oracle 10G. Gradually, I did SAP. SAP Security Technology Consultant, that is what I am. I still hold that certification. That certification, they stopped peddling it because people were failing it. So, and if I put that curriculum side by side of CISSP, they almost match because everything is there. So why I'm saying this, I'm taking myself as an example. Today, I have Masters in Information Technology, I have CISSP, I have other certifications. If I had said that I didn't study computer science from University of Ilorin, I would not be where I am today. From my own personal experience, from training that I've had, international relationship manager who worked with Manufacturing Association of Nigeria, came here for masters, is now a cybersecurity manager. A lawyer became a security analyst. I can continue giving you lists. You see, those of us working in the technology area, we are guilty of this. We don't open our mind to any other thing. We feel that this is the way. But do you know that we call something learning on the job? People will come with basic foundation knowledge and they'll come to the job and apply it. That is what we are seeing in cybersecurity. People that read philosophy, they are with us in BAE, they are working in cybersecurity. We should forget about this old axiom that if you are not in IT, you cannot do it. Come and see them here in BAE. I had 20, I pray I remember this figure correctly, whether 27, yes, maybe I'll try. Out of 27 graduates that applied to us, 14 of them applied for project management. 4 of them applied for data analysis. Another 4 applied for BA, and the rest, cybersecurity. And I checked through what they studied. Those that apply for cybersecurity, they didn't study computer science. And they were employed. It's all about interest. Please don't tell people not to do it if they are willing. And we should stop telling people to get certification before they come into cybersecurity. Is an old way, it doesn't work. I've disrupted that process, and I can see it just belongs to the past. As an example, myself, and I've seen people that have trained and are working in cybersecurity. A guy, an architect, somebody approached me once. She wanted this training. She lives in Milton Keynes. I told her, if you listen, we'll train you, we'll wait with you. What I said, maybe she was thinking, maybe I wanted the money from her. She went and met another security architect. And the guy was asking me so many questions. And I told him, I said, I'm not interested in her money. I'm just trying to help her to shift from where she is and earn money, because she told me she wants to work from home. And what do? I said, it's cybersecurity. You can work as information security officer. I started telling her those minor ones that she can start with. Maybe perhaps because where I live in the UK, we don't look at age. You are never old to come into the industry. As long as you can showcase a little bit of experience, they will hire you. Government is even training people for free if you are qualified, because they have their yardstick. You must not be earning salary, you must then they will give you the list. If you meet the list, they will give you the training. Even IIC Squared, they did CC, certified in cybersecurity, for free. They did not say you must have computer science before you get it. That thing doesn't work anymore, my brother. We have a lot of spaces available, and we are waiting for people that study computer science. We cannot get them. Ibrahim here is a civil engineer in Nigeria working with CECC. He's a lead software developer in the UK now, without any IT experience. I end it there because I'll just continue talking. I'm sorry. Who else, please? Because of time.
Okay. Because of time, Babadi wants to speak. Unfortunately, he's unable to raise his hand. He sent a private chat to me that he's having technical issues raising his hand. So, future Minister of Nigeria, go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa barakatuh.
Sir, I joined the meeting a bit late because this
is the brother that looks like me, right?
I was a bit carried away coding in Java. So I'm one of the testimony to the fact that there's no age limit to when you can actually make your entry into IT. There's no age limit, and you don't have to have background in computing. You may have much work to do, but you don't have to have any background. It's always open to people who are much interested. As a matter of fact, I've said that most of the people I have met in the class, in fact, out of class of about 150, lecturer asked yesterday how many people that had a bachelor degree in computer science, and it was only 2. How many people that has background engineering? I did only myself and one other guy. Most other people, English language, philosophy, most things. So that's to encourage people who are looking at coming in. Number 1. Number 2, you raised something about looking for partnership or for companies that are registered in Nigeria. Please, my door is open. You can chat me privately. We can work out something for our mutual benefit. I'll be willing to work with you. Or we have a company we can work with. Then number 3, I think cybersecurity in the simple definition of it is about being cautious of how much information you have that is to the public. Just like in coding, when you code your method and you make it public, then anyone can pick it and use. But when you make it private, it can be used within the particular class. The same thing applies to in real world. You see, in Nigeria, our digital journey is still very, very slow. Our presence in the digital world is very, very minimum. So we are not that exposed. So which is the reason why we are becoming more attractive now due to our digital transformation. talking about building a smart city, having wireless node sensors, all of those things like we have in the UK here, is what make life easy. But it also bring a lot of exposure in terms of security consciousness. So by and large, we are also moving to that point with what Boson is doing and his team. Like I read last week, they are now looking at building a citizen database. Now that we have database, we are now becoming more exposed. So jobs are there for us. And I think Indians, we are no longer conscious of what Indians are doing, because look at numbers. Nigerians are now very much now in that space with the last 2 years. You see this Japan, the good part of it is that we now have people, like in my class, so many Nigerians, Indians, maybe 10 out of class of 200. So we now have a lot of people that will be coming into the industry in the next 1 year. So the industry is large, opportunities are there. So let's take the advantage. So, sir, please chat me up. We're open for collaboration. So IT is open. We are welcome. Thank you.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much. No wonder they said you look like me. So one day we shall meet. You're in Aberdeen, right?
Yeah, I'm Harvard, yeah.
Okay. I'm in Kent. Anyway.
Okay. The last, I think we started by 8:30, so this is almost 10:30. So we want to take Lukman as the last, maybe commenter or questioner. Engineer Lukman, go ahead.
Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Into real estate in Nigeria. But I'm sorry I joined very late because on the platform where I saw this, it was at the time that the meeting had already started. So I'm sorry. I may need to catch you up later because I don't want to put up a question that will look like bringing people back to what we will have probably talked about. But two things that I would like to ask about. I think one of them, you actually talked about it. I think I've heard that you may not need to be an IT person before you can enter into the cybersecurity space. But I want to know what is the cost implication. I know probably you have talked about this in the because I came late, so I didn't get that. The cost implication for whoever wants to just start up learning something about cybersecurity. Sorry if that question is taking people back, and if it will not be necessary, maybe I may just shut you up on this. Thank you very much.
No, I've discussed that before you joined, but I can repeat it anyway. Somebody mentioned self-study. Self-study.
Sorry, just to say that we have this recorded, and I'm sure a lot of people would benefit from that.
So thank you.
Probably will be shared. If you don't have the time, but I'm pretty sure the brother is really interested in your answer. So there's going to be a different variant to what you said earlier. So please, you can go ahead and answer. Yeah, but we have the recording just so everybody knows that.
Thank you for that. First approach is somebody mentioned their self-study. It's going to take a long time. That's the thing. For this cybersecurity, from my own experience, I tell people, go with somebody. Some people are not good at doing that themselves because you don't have IT experience to start with. But for me, for people from Nigeria, paying from Nigeria, I train them for 250,000 for now. Next year, I don't know how much I'm going to charge because we're going to be using LearnDesk, and we'll have recorded session and we have live session for that. But if you want to do other means, there are other places you can learn about this. But what you gain from us is that we have platform, we have mentors. After training, if you have interviews, we prepare you for that interview you're going for. We even review your CV, and I have somebody that helps me to write CV for people now because I don't have the time of writing CV. So if you can't write it yourself, there's somebody you pay, and I review the CV, you put it into the market, they call you for an interview, we'll prepare you. If I don't have time, I'll signpost to somebody to look after you. But I always try to be the person to look after you to make sure that we demystify what you're seeing on the CV. in a nutshell. Somebody is raising up. You don't want me to leave today? Okay, Abdul Hamid Sambo. Please go ahead, Abdul Hamid.
Yes. My own question is, if one wants to have the training, is the payment instrumentally allowed? Like is nowadays to gather 250,000 and give it out at once.
You are not giving it out. You are paying for a service, sir.
Okay, I'm paying to pay for service.
Yes.
Is it allowed to pay instrumentally? That's my question.
I stopped taking installment from people I don't know. But if people can guarantee me that you pay me, I'm just kidding. I know. But there are some people I cannot allow them to pay installments because they have money. They don't want to spend it.
Oh, and
maybe you are one of the categories of people I'm saying.
I'm not a rich man. I'm a poor man.
How do I know? Do I know your account? But we can talk about this, by the way, later. So if you're interested, just chat me up and then we'll take it from there.
Okay, no problem. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, sir.
Okay, so I think we've come a long way with the whole session. This is to appreciate each and every one of us that took time out to actively participate, either by posting comments in the chat room, raising up hands, asking questions, or making comments or suggestions. It's all very much appreciated. It's what makes the knowledge base series an interesting one for each and every one of us at every point in time. So, and to our facilitator, may Allah in his inestimable mercy continue to shower his rahmah and barakah on you. May he make the business and the project that you currently handle, may he make it flourish and grow beyond what you could imagine. And may each and every one of us that joined this call and those that could not join also be of beneficial knowledge to each and every one of us for this particular day. Okay, so we'll be going back to the group chat. We'll open up the group again so people can comment. I'm sure that he's going to share the slide, I guess, and then we'll post it on the group for review for those that are interested. The recorded session would also be uploaded for viewership, and then if people have questions that they want to ask, he's always active on the group. You can reach out to him and discuss further. Sorry, Abubakar, we've spent not even 2 hours. We spent 2 hours 45 minutes on this session, and we don't want to keep people waiting any further. Apologies sincerely. So we want to seek your indulgence in this regards that we might not be able to take your comments since it didn't come in early enough. So jazakumullah to each and every one of us. May Allah bless our country. May Allah bless each and every one of us in our endeavors. Have mercy on our families as well. You have a wonderful rest of the day. Ma salam.
Be salam.